It's green! It's green! It's green! It's green! The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. Will not start. So I got an email from a guy in New York City who had the cheapest Mercedes E63 wagon for sale. And of course, I'm gonna fly out to New York City and buy the cheapest E63 wagon. I'm here in New York City right now, and actually, I'm on a plane, an old Connie, a Constellation, because I've checked into the TWA hotel. And I normally don't do hotel reviews, but this is just so amazing. It's mid-century modern masterpiece with Herman Miller inspired things, and the plane, everything. They took the original international terminal for TWA, which TWA went bankrupt in 2001, and have renovated it beautifully into a hotel. I have no idea this is going to be usable footage, but I'm just so excited right now. I want to show you a few things. The terminal, when I walked in, I felt like this is the perfect place for my 66 Imperial convertible, and then I see an old Chrysler Newport right there in the terminal. And I flew TWA a lot when I was a kid because I'm from Kansas, I'm from the Midwest, so it's kind of a very nostalgic throwback, but I need to go get this wagon because it is also a throwback to another era, and I'm real excited. It's green. Buying an E63 at dusk. Oh, okay, he ran off. It's really nice. Normally, I buy really broken things, but this one doesn't seem very busted on first glance. Well, the seller Richard didn't want to be filmed in person doing the transaction, which is fine because this is an incredible deal for an E63 wagon. Super rare, even rarer color. It's 203,000 miles though. That's the big but with this thing and why it was so cheap. Only $13,000. So I'm gonna head into the city, meet up with a fellow E63 owner for dinner, and maybe drive this thing around New York and Times Square, and then check out and see what I bought in the daylight in the morning. I bought a car in the dark, but it seems fine. It's green! It's green! It's green! It's green! I came out in the morning sunlight and just jaw-dropped at this beautiful color, which is really rare on the E63, which is already very rare in this wagon form. Over the course of 3 years, 2007 to 2009, only about 150 E63 wagons were made. Very few. In 2007, about like 50 or 60. So this is a super rare car. It's one of the rarest Mercedes ever to come into the United States. But for many years, it was just a normal used car. The previous owner of this car restored Porsches, and he wanted something that was fun to drive, but that could also haul an old air-cooled engine in the back, and this was the perfect car. He had an hour commute every day, bought this thing used with a little over 100,000 miles, and drove back and forth and racked it up to over 200,000 miles. And that's what made this E63 so cheap. If you look at recent auction comps, they're selling with low miles for $40,000 or more, one with around 100,000 miles for 25 or so. But this one, 13,000, the cheapest in the USA. And it does drive nicely, but does have some issues. Now, other than the ridiculously low production numbers, there is something else that makes this E63 special. And that's the engine. This was the fastest production station wagon in the world in 2007, thanks to this 6.2 liter V8 that put out over 500 horsepower. In 2007, this station wagon was putting out more power and could keep up with, say, a Lamborghini Gallardo, Ferraris, just about anything in a giant station wagon. Now, you all know my usual rant. I like big comfortable cars. I don't usually like the sporting versions of luxury cars because they ruin them with harsh bucket seats. Tuned suspension's really harsh on the road, but this E63 is still a very comfortable and practical cruiser. Despite the aggressive body kit and this big engine, everything inside is still luxurious E-Class, and the suspension is still riding on air, so it's very comfortable. You can adjust it in to be much tighter, but it's still a big, heavy wagon. So I know what you're thinking, it's a station wagon, and they only sold 150 of these because only 150 people would want a station wagon, especially in green. That's why probably 10 of these are in green, and to that I say, shut up! This is a real car enthusiast car. You get all the performance, the fun of a big sports sedan, but the practicality of an SUV, and even a little throwback to station wagons back in the day. Back here, look at this. A functional third row seat. Maybe not for somebody my height, but for a kid, you got a rear facing third row with a seat belt. My daughter's gonna love this thing, hopping in the back and seeing me out accelerate pretty much everybody in town in my station wagon. I actually owned an E500 wagon in the past. It was a nice car, but I always wanted the E55 or the E63 station wagon and figured eventually they would get cheap enough, but then they quickly became collector cars due to their scarcity, and I never thought that I would buy one, but then this popped up. So you may not be a wagon fan, but if you're a car guy, you can see all of this formula. It's so awesome, and it's definitely why I bought this thing. Just hopefully it'll make the... Yes, sir.
You can't park here. You're leaking all over my street.
Well, I'm not leaking all over the street, but yeah,
Well,
sorry.
your car
Okay.
is leaking on the street.
I get it that it's old. So I'll just finish up and then I'll get out of here. I'm sorry.
Are you
Sorry.
done yet?
I guess I have to go. Hopefully it makes it. This guy's kind of creepy. Well, that's New Jersey hospitality for you there. Got out in a hurry. Now I'm on the road. 203,000 miles now on this E63 wagon, and it does have a few obvious problems. The suspension was lowered by the previous owner to look cooler, but I kind of feel like something's wrong because it crashes over bumps. Maybe because the suspension is not designed, the airbags, to sit that low. So I hit the button. There's actually a button where you can raise the suspension up 2 inches, which now it's at kind of normal height, still a little bit lower, and it seems to be slightly better. So maybe it's just that. Maybe I just raise the links up and it'll be fine. But one thing I know is not fine is the warning alert on the dashboard. It wouldn't be a Mercedes without this. I have no ESP, basically, no traction control to speak of, which is kind of important on a car with 500 horsepower that breaks loose really easily, but not something that's gonna leave me stranded 1,000 miles from home. One thing that does really stink, though, is the Distronic cruise control, which is an early kind of radar guided cruise control that would slow down for the car in front of you and speed up. Doesn't work. Distronic inoperative. So I'm gonna go 1,000 miles home without cruise control. Now these are all minor issues, ones I think I can sort out easily enough. Goodness, that's power. Engine and transmission, drivetrain wise, this thing seems great. Oh, really impressive for having over 200,000 miles on it, but that's just because the previous two owners spent a boatload of money keeping this thing on the road. The previous owner, like I said earlier, restores Porsches. He flips them for profit, but this one he lost a lot of money on. He told me he bought it for around $17,000 3 years ago, spent $15,000 or more maintaining it in the 3 years that he owned it, and then sold it to me for $13,000. The owners before that, I have a long service history with them as well, including a replacement transmission at 120,000 miles and a bunch of other things. Ignore the GPS talking down there. But anyway, I have a theory with Mercedes, and it's a weird one, so stick with me on this. But I think from 100 to 200,000 miles is when you're going to have the most problems with a German car like this. Everything that's going to break is pretty much going to break, you know, give or take a few thousand miles. But the 200 to 300,000 mile mark, you're pretty much with everything fresh. The stuff that's still alive at 200,000 miles is probably going to make it to 300,000 miles, at least in my experience with other cars, but it's totally anecdotal and it's probably wishful thinking on my part. But we'll see. We got a long way to go. I'll stop after a few hours and make a pit stop and check everything out. Make sure it's okay. So far, so good. Good little green wagon. $200 miles down, and so far so good. Not a single issue other than the stuff that I already bought the car with, like the ESP light. There's some things to worry about with these cars because they have air suspension and the air shocks blow a lot. This one's been lowered, so it makes it even more risky. But so far so good. It's so green and pretty. Let's pop the hood. Oh yeah. I guess I should check the oil. How do you check the oil? I don't even know how to check the oil. Dipstick. Wow. Oh, these don't have dipsticks. That's right.
What is this?
Yeah. Oh, hey, man.
Hey, how are you doing?
Oh, pretty good.
I saw your car. I never saw a, you know, an AMG wagon before.
Yeah?
What is it?
It's a 2007 E63 AMG. I'm driving it home to Kansas.
Really? Kansas?
Yeah.
Where'd you just get it?
I just got it, yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
How much you pay for it?
Well, $13,000. It was cheap, but it has 200,000 miles on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just making a video, you know, so.
Wow. It's a 0 to 60 on something like this.
I think it's in the 4s. Yeah, it's not, you know, it's not bad, but I'm kind of needing to get on the road. And I'm just filming a little update video. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Hoovies Garage. I make videos, you know.
Okay.
You heard of YouTube?
No.
Okay. Well, I better hit the road.
What
So
year is it?
it's a 2007, but
Okay.
yeah, buddy. I'll see you around, buddy. Thanks. We'll see you around. But thanks for talking to me.
Thanks. I'm not your buddy, by the way.
What's up with the people here? Display malfunction, visit workshop. Then a check engine light. And it's misfiring, it's bucking a little bit. That's not good. Where are we right now? Just outside of St. Louis. Oh dear. Lost. ABS is on. I have lost my tachometer. Coolant turn engine off. What? ESP is not overheating, I don't think. What the heck? Oh, it's missing bad. So here's the deal. When the cluster does come back, I'm pretty sure it's not overheating because it shows a normal temperature, but the engine is bucking a little bit. But I have no tachometer. The speedometer goes out. ABS check engine light comes on, then off. I'm gonna try the old hard reset once I get to the next exit and see if this car comes back. We're definitely not within the 100-mile AAA tow range. Day 2. Made it to Missouri at least. I'm one state away from Kansas, but man, is this the Mannheim Steamroller Christmas concert of instrument cluster failures right now. With the engine misfire though, this is making me pretty nervous. Look at that, I'm going down in speed. Now I'm at 0, but I'm clearly going 70. What is going on? What is happening? All right, we'll get to this nice gas station here and do a Control-Alt-Delete. Fingers crossed. Come on. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. Nothing. Will not start. Still it won't start. Some major electrical boo-boo. I'm gonna try disconnecting the battery. And if not, I will get a tow truck and get me a nice Dairy Queen. It's a hoopty. How many Mississippis? I think I'm gonna try 100 Mississippis, and we'll see. Okay, 100 Mississippis later, and it worked. I'm alive. Everything's still broken, but at least it's running. So I guess I'll chance it. I'll keep going with no gauges. I think it'll make it home. It just has a serious electrical problem. But I don't think it's the alternator because everything else is working. Air conditioning, stereo, all that stuff. It didn't seem like it was losing power. So, fingers crossed. Well, we made it about 150 miles before it completely quit. I stopped in Kansas City to visit a friend and check on one of the stores, and wouldn't restart. Absolutely stone dead, wouldn't restart. Well, there's electrical power, but the engine would not turn over. So I'm calling a tow truck and I'm gonna have it towed to the local Mercedes dealer here in Kansas City. I did cross the Kansas state line, so technically it kind of made it, kind of not. I mean, over 1,000 miles, and now some weird electrical issue has killed this thing. Checked all the fuses and relays. It's not anything obvious, so I don't know. Kind of a bummer. If it's too expensive at the dealer, then I'll have it shipped to the Wizards. But that's the end of the road trip, and I'm starting to remember why I always ship these cars when I buy them and then deal with the issues at home rather than driving them all this way. Oh well. Thank you for watching. Peace up. Ow. These things are well built. Yeah. Oh.